Hi everyone, in this video, this is a part 3 continuation video about those people who are feeling really sad and depressed during the holiday season because of some reason or other. In my first two videos, I was trying to address the problems of those people who feel sad and depressed because they are possibly reaching a stage of life where some social isolation is involved, where they might be aging, they might have gotten sick, they might be going through a severe phase of depression, they might have moved to a new city. And in all those cases, what is helpful is what I mentioned in my first two videos, where those people are likely in search of now. Actually, their soul is searching for newer connections, wanting to build newer, meaningful, deeper connections than what they have already had in their past, or some of their past connections have moved away. Some people might have died. Their life path journey might have changed in such a direction that it is currently a difficult and challenging phase to be with those people whose life path journey hasn't shifted like theirs. So at those times, understanding deeply what our soul is looking for, what is the next phase that we need to pursue in our life that might be very different from what we pursued previously, who could be the kind of potential connections who would bring us the deep, meaningful, gazelle like connection we are looking for in our life. That soul searching phase is required by those people who are going through severe phase of depression, severe loneliness, social isolation, or some illness, disability, or a major life transition phase. Whereas this is the one segment of society which gets really depressed, which really isolated and lonely during the Christmas holiday time. And for them, please check out my first two videos, what measures you could potentially take, or and also allow yourself to grieve when you are in a grieving phase, and seek some medical help or therapy help if you are not able to find some meaningful friendship based connections or family based deeper connections in your life. Seek the help wherever you can find, and when you can't find help, definitely seek help from God and your angels, because they are always waiting to connect to you. And in those isolation phases, they are even more deeply able to connect and guide you about what next you might need to do in your life. And allow yourself the grief also of if someone passed away in your family, if you went through a divorce, if you went through a city move, if your friends have moved on, or your friends are leading busy lives, but you feel you're not leading as much of a busy life as them. In all those situations as well, release whatever you are not able to handle to God. And if there are some aspects of your life where you feel like competing with someone else, competing with yourself in your previous version, realize that sometimes you should not be competing with your previous version also at certain phases of your life. For example, when I was going through really severe, challenging health crisis like phases, where I was not able to even go outside for 15-20 minutes, and walking outside was a chore for me. I had become that severely ill that simple activities that I used to be able to do very easily, simple functional activities had weren't possible for me, and I had become completely physically in a 90% dysfunctional aspect of living. So essentially, because of cancer like conditions, allergies, and multiple other things going on in my life at the same time, all of them combined led to me not being able to be functionally mobile. Whereas earlier, 10 years back, 5 years back, I used to be very active. I used to love going out for 2 hours walks. I would work out in my home or work out in the gym for a couple of hours daily. I would be easily go out for long walks and talks on the phone with my family, so I could converse for 2 3 hours regularly. I used to work in a pharmacy where talking with patients and doctors and healthcare providers throughout the day was a norm for me. So my breathing capacity had gone down, my walking capacity had gone down, my functional ability to do simple household chores had gone down drastically when I was in the peak phase of my illness. And in those times, though I had gone in that peak phases of my illness, the thing that kept and at that time, if I compare myself to how I was able to enjoy life with family or friends, it would lead to disappointment, it would lead to grief, it would lead to depression, right? Because you're not as able as you were earlier. But that phase itself has some higher purpose. That phase itself of isolation, not being able to move, not being able to physically do something, doesn't mean that you or physically do some very much highly challenging things may seem like a daunting thing at that time, and it was a daunting phase for me for a few years. But while things that were very physically activity based things were very daunting and challenging for me, what did I start doing instead was to get away from the depression of it. I never felt actually depressed during that whole social isolation phase. At least for the majority of my phases, I didn't feel depressed or sad about not being able to be physically mobile, simply because at that time I was getting the guidance that I had to be in a resting phase in life. So that was one reason. Second reason was being in the resting phase. I was still, even though I was not able to do major physical activities of 2 3 hours of running and walking and exercise or zumba or something, or even carrying simple groceries from the stores had become a challenge for me. While I couldn't do that, I still had the gratitude that I could get grocery from the store by ordering online. I still had gratitude that I could have a clean bed to sleep in. I still had gratitude that I was also initially, when I was not completely, my hands were still mobile and my brain was still mobile. When my brain was mobile, I was writing many posts on Facebook. When my hand was still mobile, I was doing some art and craft activities. So what I would do was, while sitting and standing up was getting a little challenging for me, especially standing activities and walking related mobile functional activities were challenging for me. But I could easily lay down on the bed and have not my I wasn't I was still able to do certain things while laying down on the bed. So while laying down on the bed, whatever things I could do, I could sometimes knit, and I would partially sit and knit for a while and then again lay down on the bed and knit. Or I would do crocheting work, I would do artwork where for half an hour or 1 hour I would paint something and then again rest. So all of these ended up making me meaningfully connected to the universe, to God, to my own higher self. And so while I was not be connected to other human beings, it gave me the opportunity to connect with myself and gain more self awareness about myself, about my health condition. Why am I facing this challenging health condition? If there were physical reasons for it, what are the things I can do physically to ensure that from that deeply immobile phase, can I become a little bit better functional phase? Or if I was getting tired so much, what are the root causes of my daily activities that are causing my tiredness? And based on those things only, I started posting things on YouTube or on my other social media platform to talk about the illness phase that I'm going through, the challenging phases I'm going through, and also what are the meaningful, because I was a healthcare practitioner previously. So from the healthcare perspective, I started talking about the healthcare perspective angles related to that challenge as well. So like that, if you are isolated and lonely because of whatever reason related to your life, this phase is also a good phase to do some deep introspective self reflection. It can also be a phase for doing meditation. I have a little bit of a challenge doing traditional meditation where, you sit and clear your mind completely. That has been a little bit of a challenge for me. But instead of doing that, I would do what did work for me was listening to meditation music that helps in calming me, listening to frequency healing music that would also help in calming me. And apart from that, chanting some mantras also helped me in calming my energy. And then the reason why the depression was happening partly is because of nutritional deficiency. But if you have been a very moderately to high activity level holding person previously, sitting at home can also become challenging then also. And if you love walking, which I do, I used to love walking out in my neighborhoods, in the gardens of wherever I live, or near the garden areas, because going near greenery, communing with nature, walking around nature is a very healthy activity. It gives you more oxygen. It also provides you a that's also a great way to ground your personality and become a calmer personality. But in that disease phase of my life, I was not able to maintain that calmness, maintain that grounding, because I'm not closer to nature. So as a result, what was happening was that anxiety level can also increase in some people. Or if you are becoming very immobile, initially the first 1 year, I was in a denial that I'm falling severely sick, or I not only in denial, but I was also trying to not fall severely sick, because I was like, let's just manage the illness with whatever I know how to manage the illness and sickness with. So if I could manage it with, if it was a minor, initially some of the symptoms that happened with me were related to stomach upset, flu-like symptoms, and when the flu-like symptoms, stomach upset, minor allergies, all these were happening, I was able to stave it off with the walking related, energy healing related, natural healing related practices. But there was a time when the number of things that were causing my allergies increased suddenly in my local environment. And the number of things that were aiding my health harm also increased for multiple different reasons, part of which I will explain later, because that will make this a complicated video. But in all of these, again, whenever you are sick or feeling sad or feeling depressed, the way to get back out of that illness phase, one key step is to always ensure that do whatever is in your power to do to release yourself from the illness or challenge that you're facing. And if after doing all the steps that you know how to manage via all the practices that you may have done throughout your life, or new practices that you're learning when you watch a YouTube video and you're trying to practice those new practices, whatever you are doing at that time, there will be a growth phase, also challenging phase of understanding deeply what you are doing. If you're doing meditation, you have to understand it a little bit more deeply. If you're doing painting, there is a phase where you can casually simply do it as a hobby, but there's also a phase after a few years where instead of doing it as a hobby, you may want to do it at a more deeper level as well, if that's something that is calling to you. If it is knitting and you want to you can keep improving in your knitting skills, or you can just do knitting occasionally for some gifting to people, which is what I did with the knitting and crochet related stuff. I gifted to some people also wanted to buy things from me, I gave it to them. But then there was also a phase where I was also, because I'm health perspective focused, when I was doing knitting 5 6 years back, 10 years back, when I used to do knitting, the materials that were there in the market were not health harming. They were very good materials, good quality materials, and I had no allergies or health problems while using those knitting wool. But in the recent years, for some reason, there was a lot of bad quality products in the market which were adding to my health harm, which was causing, they were also adding to my allergies and illness. So at that time, even though I love knitting a lot, I had to also refuse knitting for certain people, because those wool that I bought in recent years, I couldn't find a good quality wool in the market, or whatever wool I had in stock weren't enough for the project someone wanted me to do for them. So at that time I had to say no to it. So that will also bring you grief. So in holiday season, when you are not able to live up to something you wanted to do, that you previously used to love doing, but now for some reason that material might be out of stock, the idea that you had, you couldn't do it, maybe because, like, for example, in Diwali time I saw a post of a lady who wanted to do some artwork in her home for decorating her home during Diwali. But while she was focused on doing some artwork, her daughter fell sick. And because her daughter fell sick, she wanted to now, obviously, being a good mom, she wanted to caretake her daughter. So what did she let go? Instead of focusing on her artwork, she let go of the artwork, took care of her daughter first, which delayed her Diwali plans. And in the end, she didn't have that many decorations as she would have earlier had. But it is okay. That is another aspect of holiday season related pursuing of our goals, that earlier, even if you had, like, a particular kind of decoration in mind, particular kind of things you want there in your Christmas tree as your gifts, and you want your gift wrapping to be in a particular way, or you want to invite a lot of guests in your home. But sometimes real life will come in and bring in a wrench in your plans, and those real life things need to be resolved first, and you can't just focus simply on having fun or having your moment of the beautiful Christmas picture that you want to send to your family, or whatever else enjoyment you wanted. Those moments may not happen on the Christmas day itself, because of you falling sick, someone else falling sick, some emergency happening in your life, something else happening that puts a wrench in your plans, that the materials you wanted to do something are not available for you. So at those times also, a person can feel depressed, a person can feel anxious, a person can feel angry that their plans are not materializing. So one way, at those moments of time when you're feeling anxious, sad, angry that your plans didn't materialize, is to refocus your attention back to the fact that while you couldn't do the plans that you had in mind on the Christmas day, or on the day of the vacation that you wanted to do something, it is possible to postpone that to some other day as well. So, for example, this lady, if she really wants now a decorative home, while she couldn't do it during Diwali time, after Diwali, is there another festival, that Indian festival, that will come up for her, another Hindu festival that her culture might have in a few months? Yes. So there are many festivals that keep coming up in our Indian calendar. So for the next Indian festival, whatever decoration she had started doing for Diwali, now she can postpone that decoration and make that decoration for the next festival. Or she can create that artwork and keep it in her drawer for next year's use, right? So her thrill of doing a artwork, the because artwork can be very relaxing also. So when we women usually want to do artwork for their homes or for someone else, part of it is a relaxing act for some women. I'm not saying everyone will be the same, but for those whom artwork is like a relaxing activity, it gets relaxing when you have no competition associated with it. You're not competing with yourself that last year I made this one big fancy decoration, this year I have to do it. Neither are you competing with your friend that I saw my friend make this decoration, now this year I want to compete with her and do that same similar kind of decoration myself. Or you're not also competing with a stranger online whose decoration you got inspired by, and think that just because that stranger did it in 1 week, I will also do it in 1 week. If you put all those competition inside yourself, you will not find artwork relaxing. But instead, if you let go of all the competition and focus on just enjoying it for the sake of enjoying it, then it becomes a hobby, then it becomes a relaxing thing. And it not only becomes a relaxing thing, then you are also able to let go of that artwork when other priorities come into picture, and you are able to refocus your direction into some other thing. So when this lady's daughter was sick, she was focusing on her daughter. And while on the day of Diwali, maybe she wanted to make some sweets, she wanted to exchange sweets with neighbors or other friends, she might have wanted to go out and celebrate and burst some firecrackers. While she couldn't do that on that day, again, is it possible for them and that family to Diwali in India is celebrated for 4 5 days? So even if on the day of the first 2 days, main days of Diwali, they couldn't celebrate it, maybe they could celebrate it a few days later. Or they could also realize that next festival time they will make it a little bit more involved activity with other friends and family, while they couldn't do it in this festival time. And if you end up letting go of the expectation associated with how your Diwali or how your Christmas should ideally have been that year, realize that some years you will not have the same experience, and it is okay to not have a more brighter experience every year, and it is okay some years to have a less brighter experience, no celebration at all or much minimal celebrations on the festival time because of whatever reason you had to go through that experience. So I hope this made sense. And then there are also some ladies who are physically fit. They are not having any physical issue, mental health issue related to depression or emotional health related issue related to denial. They are not socially isolated. They have a great social group, and they also had a great dinner with their friends or family during their Christmas time. So they had that experience. But despite having that experience, also, some women or men or children can still feel depressed. And if you have also addressed the fact that it is not a nutritional issue that is leading to your depression, it could be simply that year the depth that you wanted in your connections didn't materialize in your connections. And which what who can go through that experience? That can be experience that can happen with a person who has been married to someone for 10 years, and while in the first 10 years of their marriage they had a very wonderful fabulous 10 years of marriage, where they were always constantly celebrating something or the other. One year they would go there, some years they would go on vacation, some years they would go and just go and have a outing or a picnic with family somewhere nearby. Some years they would go and have celebration with family. Some years they would go and have a Christmas celebration in the locality. So every year for 10 years, maybe they had something or the other going on during Christmas time. So they've been constantly on this wheel of doing something during Christmas holidays for many, many years in their marriage. And they have kids also. So with their kids also, they would always be involved in some kid related activities. But imagine now, after 10 years of having such a life where every year something beautiful manifested in your life, suddenly, let's say in this particular year, you have teenagers in your home, or it's been 10 20 years after your marriage has happened, and your children have all grown up. And at that time, you may have empty nest syndrome, or your children being teenagers might be now slowly dissociating from the deep parent child bonding that used to exist between parents and children when the children were younger. So at that time also you will feel depressed, because if your child is becoming a teen and they are a very hormonal or very mercurial teenager, at that time they will say certain things that will be hurtful. They will make certain choices that will seem like your teen, or if not a teen, even an adult child who might, let's say in India, teenagers usually, sometimes teenagers do this, but sometimes it's not a teenage child who will do it, but a early 20s child might start doing this. They might start separating a little bit from their family, because they want to do their own thing also, slowly as they are adulting. right? And this can happen with any age child. So you could be married for 30 years, you could be married for 40 years, you could be married for 20 years, you could be married for 10 years. And in each of those parents' phases, there could be something different that could materialize in their life. If someone is just married to their spouse, just the spousal responsibilities itself, or spousal health related concerns, spouse's family's health related concerns, finance related concerns, work related concerns, social group related concerns, all of these could be creating a rift in the spouse's life that could be causing the spouse to distance. Like, there, let's say there's a husband and a wife, and a husband can't understand why is his wife suddenly distancing herself from him. But the reason why she could be distancing herself could be that she needs some processing time to understand her illness. If she has some illness going on, it could be that she's getting tired of doing the same activities again and again because she has aged, or some illness is manifesting in her body, but she doesn't yet consciously, her body has not yet manifested major illness symptoms in her body, but slowly she's getting tired. Because that is how my cancer progression happened. The first 2 years I was only slowly getting tired, slowly getting inactive and immobile. And in the middle phase of that cancer phase and allergy phase, I was not slowly I was completely my functional abilities had completely dropped. So that slow decline or a complete drop in activity can happen to someone who is going through something either physically or mentally or emotionally. So at that time, the evolution of that Christmas's bonding time with your spouse might be that you have to ask your spouse some deeper questions, or you have to give your spouse some time to think about what is going on with them, or you have to do a combination of both, give them the time to do their own thing and then ask them what is going on. You might have to postpone also your Christmas celebration, like how if someone's is physically very sick and you are postponing your plans because someone was physically sick, or an health emergency, work emergency came up and you postponed your celebration. Same way, when someone is distancing themselves or something is going on in their mind that they are not yet ready to share with the partner, at that time also it is possible that that year, maybe during Christmas time, you're not meant to celebrate Christmas time with a large group or whatever. As a couple, maybe you used to do couple activities during Christmas. Like, there are couples who are very highly active couples who love going skiing, who love doing some vacation time with each other for a week or two, who love spending time with their friends or other social groups together and do some community celebration. So whatever is your thing that you used to do earlier, but maybe that year one of the persons needs some rest for some reason, needs some pause from those general activities for some reason. That time also you will see that some changes are required. And the person who now, if you have a good stable relationship, you will allow the relationship to unfold the way it is meant to unfold. But if you have some hidden, unhealed wounds from your childhood days related to abandonment, or you get anxious when your partner detaches from you a little bit for a while temporarily, or you get depressed when you are not having the same kind of fun that you used to have earlier. At those moments, those are just unhealed patterns in your energy, in your mental health, in your spiritual health, in your understanding of the dynamics in life that is meant to have highs and lows always in our life. Our lives are always meant to have some highs and lows. And sometimes the low phase can, even though generally the trend is that a high phase should be there during Christmas time, a celebratory phase should be there during Christmas time, there are moments of life when you will not have that high phase, and your body might be demanding, your health might be demanding, your work pressures might be demanding, your family obligations might be demanding that a low phase has to exist during those Christmas weeks. Another time, if that is what your body and health and energy levels or life circumstances or something else is demanding this from you, you have to have what? Then you have to have the resilience to adjust according to your, and adaptability to adjust according to the condition that you are going through. And at that time it is okay, like it's not very easy sometimes to adjust your mindset. Like if I am looking forward to a vacation time with my spouse, and suddenly my spouse says I can't go on this vacation, or if I'm looking forward to a ski trip with my spouse, but my spouse suddenly says I can't do this ski trip today, yes, you will go through a disappointing phase, and it will be abnormal for you to not feel the disappointment, not feel the sadness, not feel the isolation, not feel angry or some emotion or the other, depending on what kind of spousal life you have with your partner. Like, because if you are already a naturally very resilient person, it will be very easy for you to adjust that. Okay, she said no up to this weekend, you will ask her, can we go? Okay, this weekend you can't go, can we go in the new year weekend, or can we go in 2 weeks time? Because for you, if what matters for you is quality time with your partner, all you need to do is, and what matters to your partner also is to have that quality time with you, they will adjust it for you, right? But let's say and she's that kind of a adjusting partner also, but still she says no this year. So the evolution of that partnership is what? The evolution of that partnership is now getting to understand why she's saying no this year. It could be that she has a sprained ankle, and you never notice that she has a sprained ankle. And this year, this Christmas, the way to show love to your spouse was not via going on a skiing activity, but observing that she has a sprained ankle, or her health is declining for some reason. Maybe she's entering menopause and she's tired right now and she doesn't want to go skiing because of that. So those things are where the depth now of your relationship will develop. And that is what again brings back the Christmas spirit, because Christmas spirit is not simply always about fun, but sometimes also about sharing the darker experiences of your lives, tending towards darkness related experiences, and also allowing for the neutral experiences also to emerge in your life. Same way, a mother, if the child has become every year when the child was younger, a 5-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid usually clings to the mother, right? But a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid doesn't cling so much to the mother, doesn't come so much to the mother or parents for help. They're seeking their own independence. So at that time, and they can also not only seek their own independence, some are also wanting to spend more fun times with their friends and other social groups. So at that time, finding that healthy balance with your kid, again, that when the kid is pulling away from you, the pain you might feel when your kid is pulling away from you, the sadness and grief or hurt you might feel when the kid is speaking really badly to you, that phase when your kid is doing their teen rebellion phases with you, at that time also, if the mother and parents have that resilience to understand what the kid is going through, again it will not become a overly challenging, depression filled, grief filled, isolation filled phase for the parents. But the moment you start taking it as a very painful experience and not realize that this is going to be a normal experience with, and even if you have, raised 3 4 kids, every kid of yours will be very different in their teenage years, and every kid's separation also from the parents will be different ages. So some kid might want to separate out from the parents at 13 years of age, whereas the older kids wanted to separate out from the parents at 18 years of age. Or some kids might not even separate even after becoming adults, but after they get married, that's when they might start slowly separating a little bit from the parents. So this aspect of when the kid will separate out, how much the kid will separate, it depends on the kid's personality, depends on the kids and parents dynamics with each other. And also because every few years a new generation is created by God to exist on earth, so every generation of kids will be different also. So if your oldest child is 18 years old and your youngest is 5 years old, there will be very much different behavioral patterns in the 20-year-old versus the 15-year-old versus the 18-year-old versus the 5-year-old versus the whatever age kids you have in your life, right? So they all are supposed to bring a unique kind of experience in your life. That's why you have that many kids. So with each of your kids you will have to have a different dynamics, and some of your kids will hurt you more emotionally at first than others. Some might hurt you later on in life, but whatever hurt also you are facing, if you understand that no hurt was intended, because sometimes there might be deliberately bad words being said by a kid and they are deliberately actually trying to hurt you, but sometimes it might just be the circumstance that is causing some hurtful words to be spoken between parents and children. So those realizations, now if you start reflecting on, if you start understanding that this is a normal natural pattern of life, and in that normal natural pattern also, when the kid is also like separating slightly from the parent, it is also parents time to understand that. And many mothers, or especially stay at home mothers, or mothers who are very devoted to their kids, feel this pain the most. Sometimes fathers also, if fathers are very involved in their kids lives, they also tend to feel this emotional pain when their kids are independently getting away from them, independently wanting to separate out their lives. And that pain is a valid pain again. That isolation, that sadness, that grief, that denial, all these are valid emotions for someone to have during a holiday season. But after that pain, after that separation has slowly, step by step started happening in your lives, understand that while the child is now connecting to other friends more often, possibly, like instead earlier when during Christmas time you could do 4 or 5 hours of activities with your kids and they would love to spend 4 or 5 hours with the mother, now the child only wants to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes or 30 minutes, or the child has become now very selfish, so the child is only asking for child will spend time with parent only when parent will take them to a mall or take them shopping or something very selfish related to the kid. If the parent does, then only the child will spend time with the parent. Otherwise, all the other older fun activities that the parent used to do with the child, they're not able to do with their child anymore. So at those times, what are you should grieve that you have to first, it might become a suddenly a shocking experience sometimes to a parent when for many years they had continuously 3 4 kids in their life, and they all had uh, um, you were so busy, they were growing up slowly, but you were so busy taking care of all of the kids and your family life, you didn't realize one fine day when some of your kids have now matured into adults who want their separate life, or are teenagers who are wanting to have a separate life, which maybe your older teenagers didn't want or didn't do to you, but a younger teenager is suddenly wanting that very different kind of a experience with you. So at that time, while you will be feeling disappointed and sad, allow that grief to happen, but also realize that is the time when maybe the child is also separating because that new child came in your life who's separating earlier from you, because maybe it is possible that you are now going to hit menopause soon, and because you're going to hit menopause soon, you need your resting phases in life. So when the child is separating out and not spending 4 5 hours with you, those 4 5 hours, while initially it will be painful that you don't get to spend with your children now as you used to spend earlier, but those 4 5 hours might be crucial hours that you need for self-care, for health related purposes, for resting related purposes, for relaxing related purposes, for socializing related purposes also. Maybe while the child is now making new friends or hanging out more with their teenage friends, you might also at that time need to hang out with the teenage mother. Like if your child is a 13-year-old child and she's hanging out with other 13 14-year olds, you hang out with their mothers to socialize with their mothers, because their mothers also will be, that's why, equally in a if their mothers are also stay at home mothers, their mothers are also part time working mothers, their mothers also have free time, they also need some socializing. So you then have the opportunity then to make new friends at that time, if you haven't had a time in your life to make new social connections. Or it is the time for you to now build your Christmas themed parties around a larger social group than simply your kids. Now maybe you are meant to expand your network into making, including some neighbors in your Christmas parties, or and allow your teens to do their own thing while you get to enjoy. Like if you love to decorate your home for your with your kids, or bake a Christmas dish with your kids, the same thing you can do now, maybe with another neighbor, or maybe with another mom of a teen kid who's friends with your own kids, right? And that could be one reason. For it could also be that it is a time when you are meant to reconnect back with your husband and spouse, or it could be a time of life when you're meant to reconnect with your in-laws and parents who might have aging related issues going on. So these gaps, when these gaps of time happen, when these social isolation times are happening with the normal family that we had already, the reason why these gaps are happening with the normal family or normal social groups that we hold already, at those times you are meant to reconnect back with someone else that we might have overlooked in our life. And that's why that isolation phase is happening, so that we can reconnect with someone differently. So it could be a neighbor you never were that deeply involved in understanding about the neighbor's problems, but because you are also grief stricken that your children don't speak to you anymore. Your neighbor could be, while you are a 40-50-year-old woman and your teen children are not speaking to you, your neighbor could be a 60-70-year-old woman whose children have moved to outside the country, and that's why they don't have anyone to communicate with or spend Christmas time with. So using your grief, and when you are grieving and you are feeling isolated, you will search for these friendships, search for these deep meaningful, you are meant to search for these deep meaningful connections somewhere else. But that next step of searching that deep meaningful, either you're meant to search for deep meaningful connections, or you're meant to rest, or you're meant to do both, or you're meant to just simply relax and pursue some hobby by yourself, or you're meant to focus on your work. For different individuals it will be a different thing that they are next meant to do, depending on their health status, depending on their inclination, depending on their love of something. So a mother's love of sharing a gift with her child is what? That you are jointly celebrating the spirit of Christmas with your child. You are jointly doing some fun cake baking activity, or fun decoration, home decoration activity. But can you also not do it with a neighbor? Can you also not go with your neighbor to, now both of you being lonely and sad, or understanding how when kids start maturing and doing their own activities, you have more freer time. So if you have more freer time, maybe during Christmas vacation you can go and do some community activity with homeless kids, or community activity with other elderly in your neighborhood who do not have any kids, who do not have any family at all, right? So it is a time to expand your network, and that's why also you might get into these challenging phases, or not as normal or as celebratory phases as what you used to have previously. Same way with men, when men are single at that time, and you were single and many of your friends have now started getting married, and you're feeling now socially isolated. Let's say a man or a woman is feeling socially isolated because all their single friends are now married, and or their friends have kids and are busy with their kids. That's why you can't do the normal bachelor like activities you used to do with your friends. So at that time, again, it is the time for you to expand your social circle. Either find other bachelor. If you want to remain a bachelor, you will have to find those bachelor friends. If you want to have a dating life, then focus on having a dating life. Focus on doing not the normal dating things, but something again out of the box than the normal dating that you used to do. So if your normal dating used to be just going, hanging out with your friends in a bar, or going out with your friends for a movie, or but now that, or most of the time earlier in the past, you were studying or working or doing something where you dated someone in your work group, or dated someone from your college or your neighborhood. All these you have done already, and still you haven't found your partner, but you are still meaningfully searching for a partner. So at that time you have to expand your horizons. You have to possibly, sometimes you connect with God, because I have realized for me, while initially I did a lot of my connecting by myself to many people, uh, using these kind of social paradigms only, or dating websites to connect to people. Eventually, though, the final person that I connected to, that was a connection where I asked God about the connection, or I had left certain things to God about such connections. And when I left certain things to God about such connections, whatever I got guided towards based on God's guidances, I started doing that, which led to a really good relationship. It was not a very normal relationship, but it was a very deep, meaningful connection that had manifested for me in my life. It was not a real life relationship, but it was a real deep soulful connection. So that thing you get when you are able to let go of your normal ways of connecting to someone, let go of your normal ways of understanding how dating life should be. You could possibly go and join a hobby group. You could possibly go and start, just while you still want to date someone, but until you find a capable or suitable or well matched person to date, with whom you have good camaraderie and good meaningful connection with them, until that time, should you just sit and do nothing in your life? No, you can't do that, right? Until you find someone, even if that is there playing in the back of your mind, in the forefront of your life, you have to still do something. So do something, be something, or simply enjoy life the best way you can enjoy life. So because if you don't do that, that is when the depression or denial about your loneliness, social isolation will start coming up in you. But instead, if every time, and it's okay to go through those phases, because I feel my depression phases and loneliness phases, sadness phases, they all brought a depth to my life, and bring a more meaningful, sharp contrast of gratitude in my life every time I get the opposite of those experiences with someone in my life. It could be a stranger, it could be a friend, it could be a partner, it could be a family. Whenever you have the opposite of the depression experiences, you find a gratitude in those experiences at a very deeper level. So if you want deep, meaningful connections, sometimes in order to have the depth of a meaningful connection in your life, you have to also go through the depth of the pain of a non-meaningful connection based phases in your life also. And in that depth of the non-meaningful connection based phases of your life, or less meaningful connections being present in your life, or no meaningful connection being present in your life, you will still understand slowly, if you connect to God or the universe, that connecting to God and universe brings you that depth of connection as well. And you could also possibly connect to a hobby, connect to a life purpose, connect to pursuing something that is possibly going to be the stepping stones to taking you towards the partner that you are searching for. For example, there could be someone who lives in America, but the partner they are searching for, and who would be a really good partner for them, doesn't live in America. They possibly live in Europe. Maybe they have to go on some trips to Europe for a while before they meet that partner. That could be someone's journey. So, but in order for them to, they could possibly need to go to a couple of trips to Europe. They could possibly need to move their house and go for a work experience in Europe. Those could be the reasons how they would end up meeting their partner. Or they could meet their partner in America, but again, maybe because they stay in Europe, because of their partner, they will move to Europe now. That can also happen to someone, right? So whatever is going to manifest for someone based on whatever is next meant to happen in your life or unfold in your life, that thing can unfold when you are connected to your higher self, connected to your higher purpose. Because why that connection to your higher self, higher purpose, or God is necessary is because we don't always know what is going to manifest for us 5 years or 10 years down the line. So you don't know that you may not know that the partner you're supposed to meet is going to be in Europe. You may or may not know that. Like in the Alchemist, in the Alchemist story, he went in search of a treasure. But while he went in search of a treasure and he thought that he's leaving a girlfriend behind, what happened in the story was, after he started searching for that treasure, while he was looking for that treasure, and he found some money many times, at many time points he became rich also in that storyline. But he still kept looking for the treasure and treasure, and he went further and further looking for the treasure. Why? Because that was a device for the universe to actually set him up to finally meet the girl he was meant to meet. And also, his treasure was not simply the physical monetary treasure that he got during his journey, but it was also the life experience treasure he got the more he traveled. So like that, and he never, when he met the other girl and married her eventually, he had at the back of his mind, when he left his country, he never knew that the first girl who he was engaged to, that girl will not be the girl he will marry. He didn't know that at that point of time. But that is also some people's life journey, that the person you thought originally you will marry may not end up being the person you will eventually get married to. That could be some people's journey. There could be another person, unlike the alchemist, who also had some similar adventures like the alchemist, but after having traveled outside the country for a while, that person could eventually come back also, like the alchemist, back to the original girlfriend. And while in the alchemist story, the alchemist got married to someone else, in the other version of some other person who did similar journey like the alchemist, they could actually come back to their first love. That could also be someone's journey, right? So for different people, what is going to manifest for them is going to be different. But that for someone, if you're waiting for a partner, you don't know when you will meet your partner, or whoever you're meeting in your normal dating life is not working out for you, you will have those phases of, again, isolation and anxiety or depression or restlessness in your life. And at that time you will feel called to doing something different. And when you're feeling called to do something different, you might get called to leave the country that you're living in. You might feel called to go on occasional vacations to a different country. You might get called to making new friends online in social media. You might get called towards taking a job in a different country. You might get called into doing some volunteering activities somewhere. So different people will get called to do different things, and based on that, those things would be the stepping stones to you eventually meeting your partner. Because it's possible that maybe your partner is still, you're an American, your partner is maybe they're in America only, but because you were traveling around the world and your partner was also possibly traveling around the world, maybe you ended up meeting each other actually in Europe. That could happen. Or it could be that both of you are travelers, but and both of you have a higher purpose related to traveling that is meant to manifest in your life. That's why you were pushed into doing the traveling first by yourselves separately, so that eventually in your future you might end up doing something related to the travel industry in the future. So that 5 years, or like, you don't know in 5 years you will meet this person, your person doesn't know that in 5 years they will meet you. But let's say both of you are unaware of each other, you have never known each other, but if that is the higher life path plan that was meant to emerge for you, it could only emerge once both of you had collected the right experiences to do something together as business partners. Maybe like that is how you met. Like first you were traveling by yourself separately as two people, then you decided we will merge our life paths by doing some joint travel activities together as a hobby or something. Or you became friends and wanted to set up a travel company or something, travel and tourism company or online website or something. And whatever you created together, that creation of that thing, while creating that thing, you were friends with each other. But then you saw the dating potential in each other, which you wouldn't have seen if you hadn't taken the time to become friends with each other, taken the time to be colleagues of each other for a while, taken the time to understand each other at a deeper level, which if you had gone bar hopping and meeting that same person in a bar, you would just have dated them at a sexual level and never have had that deeper level connection with them. So does that make sense? So if you want deep meaningful relationship, and that was your higher purpose, to have a deep meaningful quality relationship, the normal usual dating patterns may not work, because first maybe you need to make friends, you need to make new friends, or your new friend could introduce you to someone else. So making new friends in a foreign country during Christmas time could be a new thing you are meant to pursue. It could be that you start finding things about a different culture suddenly very fascinating for a while. Maybe because you're meant to do some volunteer work in that country, maybe because you're meant to work in that country, maybe because you are meant to meet someone in the future who will be from that country, who will become your best friend. So you never know why universe, how universe will pull you towards a different life, and that pulling towards a different life cannot happen unless you went through a phase of depression, isolation, loneliness, sadness, grief, or even denial that you are having a lonely life. But once you have awakened after that denial that you are having a lonely life, or a sad life, or a isolated existence, or a less meaningful existence with the people you already know, that is when the denial is gone, when you acknowledge that I am lonely or sad, you are then able to acknowledge to yourself and understand that some change is needed in my life. And then that, and usually that change always needs a little bit of friction and negativity in our life. And that negativity emerges from what? That negativity emerges possibly from the pain that we felt when our child is not paying attention to us. That negativity could be from the hurt we are feeling when our husband is not observing we are ill. The negativity could be from the sadness and grief you are feeling because you don't have any friends in your city. But all of this is that little bit of negativity that you're feeling is then supposed to stir up in you the soul search, soul urge, like the alchemist, to pursue your next kind of adventure. An adventure which can begin during Christmas time if you want it to begin in Christmas time, or in Christmas time this year you were just simply meant to sit and relax and do a staycation, do no vacation at all, but simply do some self awareness related relaxation and healing, so that next year in the next Christmas vacation now you can plan about, and you have 1 year to plan about a vacation somewhere else, 1 year to research a different culture, 1 year to research a different country if you're feeling guided to go to a different country, things like that. So resting phase or sadness phase, even though we feel sometimes very um, competitive about the fact that in the past we didn't have that phase, or we feel this sudden drastic someone who might have been very sociable in the past and now suddenly he's not able to be sociable, or you're not able to have the same kind of fun that you used to have previously. All that is fine. For a few years you may have that phase, or a few months you may have that phase, but in those few years and months of those grief stricken phases, sadness based phases, soul searching based phases will actually lie the answer. And if you connect deeply to God or your own higher self, at those moments you will see, you will get the next steps to what will bring back the true meaningful connection again in your life, what will bring back connection to your own self. Because you will also realize, this is what I have realized, that in order for me to also have true meaningful deep connection with other human beings, I have to also have the capacity to have a true meaningful deep honest connection, authentic connection with my own self as well. And that self reflection time, that's why is very important. Isolation time is very important, grief time is very important, because in those times you get to sit and analyze also, or reflect also, or meditate on what are the good things about your life, what are the bad things about your life, what are the things that could be changed in your life, what are the things you know, even if it is slightly bad about you, you actually technically know that it's going to be a very hard, challenging thing to change. What is the thing that is there in your power to change, and what is the thing that you have to release to the universe, you have to release to the mystery of life for certain things to unfold in your life as well. And the moment you start releasing some of these things related to the mystery of life, related to the unknown thing that you don't know is next going to manifest in your life, that too will take you away from the grief of not having what you saw someone else do, not doing something that you aspired to do but couldn't do, not getting what you thought should be something that every year you have got it. So this year also it should happen, but it didn't happen. I hope that made sense. And if anyone has questions, comments, wants to share their journey during Christmas time, please drop a question, comment, or anything you wish to share. Thank you very much. Have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.